Hello techies. Welcome to our brand new video series focused on helping you get the most of your experiences in life. Before we start the video, let's know about Upptalk. Upptalk is a live, interactive platform for software training, furnishing robust personalities who could take on universal business platforms.
The eligibility and data changes for 356 workers. But this time it created the output for 356 workers, right? Because I chose a very broad date range. So again, I will save the file. Alright. Output 3.xml. And let me open it up again. Output 3. I'll just copy and paste it in my local computer. And I will open it up in XML Notepad. Oxygen XML editor. Right. So now let's take a look at Logan McNeil's record. So this is Logan McNeil, right? Look at the gender now. What is the value for gender? It is F. Isn't it? It is no longer showing up as female or male or something. Because of what? Because we did a mapping. Right. Let's look at the previous one. Output 1.xml. You see, the gender was male, the gender was female for Logan. But now we have been able to map that value to something. And so this is how you map. You have the ability to quickly convert this values from the Workday provided value to the value that is expected by the recipient application. Right. Okay. Now let's talk about something else. Let's talk about transaction log. Now what happened to this integration? Right now. This integration is picking up all changes made to all workers between two dates. Correct. But is that the right way that we should do our change detection? And moreover, this makes the process very inefficient. So we should have a way to filter like what transactions you want. What are the transactions you are looking for in this particular connector? Now we have given it a name called New Hires, Outbound, but we are not filtering on the basis of the business process. Isn't it? Are we doing that? We're not filtering on the basis of business process yet. So now let's try to do that. So for that we have to first enable the transaction log. That was part of our change detection process, although we didn't do it yet. So it was part of our change detection process. But first, we have to enable the transaction log. So then, after we enable the transaction log, we will be able to select what transaction we are going to want it to. So the transaction log service enables your integration the template to subscribe to events that take place in one day. Right. You're able to subscribe to some special events that are happening in Workday. Now, this option enables your integration to first identify a relevant population of workers that have had the subscribed transaction and then evaluate the data for those workers. So basically it is like an additional filter, for it will check which workers had changes to that. I mean for that particular transaction. OK, and then it will look for any changes to that worker information. Right. It is definitely helpful for during performance. It is recommended that for core connected worker, we always enable transaction log. Right. So now, if it is disabled, then what happens? If transaction log is not enabled, like what we did for our case. So if we have not enabled it, then what happens? Then the integration first extracts the all data for all workers, like it did all 356 workers it extracted, and then it evaluates the data for changes. Right. So using this option definitely affects the performance in a bad way. It adversely affects the performance. The first, we should check for the transactions. Then it should identify for the changes. Is it? That is the smarter way to do it. So let's see what are the options that we have for transaction log. So you can subscribe to all business processes. Well, if you subscribe to all business processes doesn't even make a difference, but we still have that option. So you can subscribe to all business processes. You can subscribe to all business processes except a few. Right. That is one of the options. And then, you can subscribe to all transaction types. So in the same business process, there can be multiple different types of transaction. For example, in the hire employee you have convert to employee, rehire former employee, and then you have hire employee. You have 3 different options, all for the same business process. So out of these, which transactions are you looking for so you can select that? And again for transaction, you can select, OK, subscribe to all transaction types except a few. And then you can subscribe to some specific transaction types. Now, that is the default option and the most popular option that we choose. Subscribe to specific transaction types, because that makes our process the most efficient, where we choose which are the transaction types that we want to monitor. Alright. So let's go back to Workday. And let's see this for ourselves, where we are going to monitor a few transaction types. So if I go here, fourth, I have to enable the transaction log. Then I have to configure the transaction log. Let me show you how to do that. First we go to Integration System, and we configure the integration services. First we will configure the integration services, and you will see there is something called as Core Connector Worker Transaction Log Service. Right. Core Connector Worker Transaction Log Service. We have to first enable that, and click OK. Right. We will enable the transaction log service. And now what happens? Now we will configure the transaction log. It will go to Integration System, and you see, now a new option appears. Configure Integration Transaction Log. That is exactly what we're going to do. So it says OK, override default values. I don't want to use the default values. I want to subscribe to specific transaction types. Now we are looking for new hires, right? So we will say, hire. So we will looking for hire employee event. Right, we're looking for the hire employee. Let's also have contingent workers. Right. So let's choose contract contingent worker as well. So we are also looking for contract contingent worker as well. So we are looking at new hires, right? Hiring employees, and we are also looking at contingent workers. Correct. And let's click OK. So now, if the worker has any other change, for example, the worker has changed in terms of compensation data or maybe contact information change, promotion transfers. Are we going to include them in the output? The answer is no. Right? They're only going to include contingent workers and employees who are hired, who have been hired, right? Who have gone through the hire business process. So let me launch this integration one more time. Launch. And then I will choose the date. Let me give the date as the 1st of January 2022. Alright. From midnight. And here let's also select 0101. OK. OK. I'm not selecting any other option so that I allow for change detection to remain. OK. So we will see that all the workers who are hired, only those workers, are included in the particular output. So now you see, it is only identifying the eligibility and data changes for 85 workers. Only 85 workers. It is choosing because maybe the 85 workers were hired between 1st January and today. OK. It says, completed. So it shows it found out 85 workers. Now you see, the process is so efficient. When I was running this integration, even for one day, right, the first time I ran it today, I ran it for only one day. Correct. And if the first message was
Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us at sales@uptalk.com.